Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. As you can tell by the title, we will be talking about a bunch of winter storms, two actually, that will be occurring across the United States in the next literally 48 hours, two in a row across very similar areas. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of winter weather and whatnot, but it's also the 25th of December, and the hat, the webcam, you can see the Christmas tree. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. It's a time to reflect, spend time with your family, be thankful for those that surround you, and I want to be thankful for you guys. It's been super incredible year, and I'm kind of glad that I can talk and you guys can listen. I mean, I like to talk about the weather regardless if anyone listens, so it's a win-win. So thank you so much, guys, and yeah, Merry Christmas. Hopefully you guys had a great year, and here's to another very good year. And let's start talking about this winter storm. Also, before we get into this, I do want to say that if you guys are new to this channel, consider subscribing, consider liking the video. Check out the videos in the channel first, obviously, but if you do enjoy what you're seeing, it's always a good thing to consider. Alright, if you have any comments, concerns, leave them down below. Otherwise, let's start talking about this. A lot of people may wonder why I kind of turn off the camera right after the first kind of minute or two, and the reason is I just do that for the intro, because otherwise I'm kind of all over the place when I record a video. I don't really sit still. I'm pretty all over the place, pretty chaotic, and honestly makes me concentrated more on what the weather is, and talk about the weather versus kind of looking at myself and seeing like, oh no, this is wrong in the camera, oh I don't want to show that, so that's why I do that. Regardless, if you're new to this channel, you're probably thinking I'm talking too much, and you're probably right. So let's start off by looking at the radar. If you haven't known, for the rest over the past few days, there has been just an onslaught of winter storms across the western United States. If you live across the south, the east, even portions of the north, you may be like, wow, it really hasn't been feeling like winter. And that's true. I mean, yesterday was Christmas Eve, and I was outside, and I mean, it was almost 60 degrees in my location. It wasn't pleasant. It was just kind of this muggy, disgusting air mass. It just wasn't pleasant. And today it finally cooled off into the 40s, which I can't believe I'm saying. Cooled off into the mid 40s in middle of December, which is still considered way above average. But yes, so really the winter weather has only been kind of secluded towards the northern United States, where you could see decent snow did fall across the Dakotas and Minnesota. Though again, that's not the winter storm I'm talking about. There was quite a bit of rain across the Ohio Valley, even some thunderstorms right now moving through Ohio, while really at this point already in Virginia. So again, not any typical winter weather or whatnot. And you can see that there is a lot of snow, and actually one city that is much more snowy than usual is a city like Seattle or Portland. They will be seeing snow, and they actually have winter storm warnings and advisories for their cities. Portland has a warning, and Seattle has an advisory. So yes, that's at least some cities are seeing more of a winter kind of weather pattern. And you can see the Sierras have been just hammered. And this is what I want to talk about, the western United States snowpack, because there has been already many snowstorms that passed through these areas, but the next one that we're focused on, which is right here, will be bringing a lot of snow to the Midwest and the eastern United States, which is why I'm kind of making this video, because it will be an impactful storm. But I do want to kind of focus on what has already occurred across the United States and why this isn't really, bad news, even though for travel it may be a bit of a headache, and for kind of property damage and whatnot, trees falling, with that such heavy snow, it's definitely a possibility. But in the long term, obviously, you've probably heard about the news at this point, whether you're into the weather or not. The West is in a very bad drought, and it's pretty undisputed. But, so they need rain or precip. That's the only way to kind of get out of this drought. And you can see that right now there obviously is seeing they are seeing currently rain, but the past few days have been insane. And let me show you just the Lake Orville water level. So this is a reservoir that is located right here in Northern California. It is actually well, it's not snowing. Sorry, it's not snowing in Orville right now, because Orville is actually a city just to the south of the northern kind of Sierras. Right, so it represents its water levels, how much snow fell in northern Sierra. So you can see it's snowing just south of it mainly, but look how quickly and powerfully these water levels have risen. So this was from that big October snowstorm we saw, or that super, what they call it, a bomb cyclone. It was climbing throughout much of November, December, but this is really where it started climbing. And yesterday, I mean, look at that, the past 24 hours, 3 feet, that's a lot of water. And I'm just going to remove the other years, because I have all the other years kind of overlapping. But you can see this is the past few days. I mean, it's been going by 2 to 3 feet each day. A lot of water. I could show you the snowfall reports, though these aren't as good of an representation, because these aren't all the snowfall reports. They're just like snowfall reports people put in that the National Weather Service uses to kind of finalize their snowfall analysis. And you can see some have been rather significant, even away from the coast of, California and the mountains right there. Look at those Colorado areas, Wolf Creek, all these, a location that sees a lot of snow, 33 inches, decent amounts. And you can see it's from north to south in Arizona, even Southern California. And I think there was a few snowfall reports that were, yeah, okay, I guess I couldn't find it. Never mind. The highest is 36 right there in Washington. I thought there was a 40-inch amount yesterday reported, but they must have taken that away, or it must have been a misinput. Yeah, but regardless, lots of rain, and that is most definitely good news. And you can see that there are winter storm warnings out ahead of this winter storm that is already occurring, as you saw on the radar. It is snowing right now across much of the central Sierra, where, just to let you know, there is, in terms of their average snowpack for this time of the year, there is over, I think in some areas, over 150% of the snow that they should have for this time of the year. So definitely a good start. And you can see, look at these snowfall predictions, 23 to 29 inches, 14 to 20. Obviously, these locations are used to seeing heavy snows, but every day for the past several days I've been seeing these type of ridiculous totals. Yeah, this is most definitely a very active pattern for these folks. And now let's start talking about what this system will do next. So you saw it across the radar, right? I mean, it is going ham across many of these locations. They're across the Sierra, southern Sierra into Washington. What it will do next? Well, let me actually quickly show you also that little system that looks pretty miserable up here did actually drop decent amounts of snow across, say, Bismarck. Look at that. And portions of North Dakota. And I just wanted to show that because it's not always a good representation just looking at the radar and assuming what may fall of that. I was looking at this and I was like, oh, maybe 1 to 2 inches will fall out of this. And it was almost 6 inches. So let's go back. Take a look at the HER model. A very good model. It's a very short range, but that's what we want. This system is imminent. It's going to be occurring very quickly, or sorry, very shortly. Here's the timing, guys. December 25th, 6 p.m. Look at that. That is a pretty good representation of what the radar is doing. That's why I use this model. It's a very good, precise model, in my opinion. Notice, as I put this forward, I won't be able to go over every city, kind of track it, but I just kind of wanted you to find your location. You can see the outlines of all the states, and track where this precip will be heading. Again, it's not exact, so you can see it shows snow right there across the Northeast, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, right at 9 p.m. It may be, definitely, there will be a chance of precip. Will it be that exact formation? Probably not. The model isn't that accurate. And you can see that we do have that, you could look at the larger trends. Like, look, that wave right there that we see across the radar currently shifts to the south, and so does the cold air, because we could see that many locations are seeing snowfall at sea level. You can see it snowing at the actual sea level. So, lower elevations, valleys, whatnot, they're all seeing snow. And you can see that shifts towards Los Angeles, San Diego, that band of rain or snow, and we start seeing snow erupting across Nevada, Idaho, just all across the west. And it continues across the shorelines, right? So you can see the active flow continues, but we start seeing a system that starts gathering its strength pretty quickly. Lots of wind from the south, a little bit of moisture, it gets dragged in onto this, and by 9 a.m. tomorrow, 10 a.m., 11, we see snow across the Dakotas. Yet again, across South Dakota, we see a bit of rain across Iowa. And look how quickly this band of snow develops. By 2 p.m., portions of Minnesota are seeing snow, into portions of Canada, really Saskatchewan, Manitoba, even Alberta, Canada, seeing some snow out of that, but mainly just Saskatchewan and Manitoba seeing snow. It does shift more into, say, Minnesota, into North Dakota by tomorrow. Late in the afternoon, right? A lot of people returning back, from New Year's, not New Year's, Christmas, commuting, traveling, and the thankful kind of thing about this storm is it doesn't have a cold front, right? It doesn't have a lot of precip from the south, at least now, so there isn't really a severe weather threat. But you could see the Twin Cities pick up a bit of snow out of this, a few inches for sure, depending on how fast that warm advection precipitation kind of forms itself. You can see it really just straddles the city while it's strengthening. So there will be some snow, but especially North Dakota, northern Minnesota, seeing a lot of snow, and you can see that thing continues expanding. Green Bay, much of Wisconsin, excluding this kind of the first or second row of southern counties, seeing decent amounts of snow. Not any legendary amounts, because you could see that snow will be wet, so the accumulations won't be too profound, but you could see that it does have that push of basically it starts off as snow in many locations, but say southern Wisconsin, Minnesota do pick up up a thud of snow, but then transition to a bit of rain. But notice that snow across Manitoba, right? Especially Manitoba now. Saskatchewan, Minnesota continues. This is now 10 p.m. Let me just fly forward through this. Notice rain develops. You see more of a potent rain side or warm side develop to this. And we still see, even once the kind of the main band passes through, we see some reinforcing of snowfall from that precipitation, adding to those amounts, say for cities like Duluth and where that snow could fall as snow. Notice some rain from Michigan, or some snow from Michigan to UP as well, and into cities like Toronto, maybe even Pennsylvania. You could see skirmishing the northern half of Pennsylvania, really southwestern Pennsylvania, seeing mainly rain out of this, and into portions of the coastal areas as well. But you can see it's an odd system, right? It doesn't really move to the east and strengthen. It kind of comes out of the mountains, strengthens, drops its snow, and then it's done. And really by Monday in the morning, the work week, right? For many, it is done. It's over with for the most part. And you can see that the snowfall drops is rather impressive, especially for how it looks like on a radar. It doesn't look like any, monster system. And it really isn't, but with cold temperatures and a decent amount of Pacific moisture, this thing could maximize its snowfall amounts to a pretty good level. And you can see 8 to 10 inches, pretty widespread. I would say 6 to 10 maybe, across northern North Dakota, especially kind of the northeastern half. Much of northern Minnesota, 5 to 6 inches. The Twin Cities right on that border between some accumulating plowable snow and nothing really at all. We'll have to see again. That difference is very marginal and it's tough to predict. Probably amounts well over a foot across the arrowhead when that system is pumping warm air from the south. That produces lake effect enforcements across much of, you can see the coastlines, and then decent amounts all across the UP. You can see Marquette, maybe 3 to 5 inches, assuming a 10-to-1 ratio. These amounts up here maybe even higher because of how cold it's going to be when the snow is falling. Not record cold, but it's going to be cold enough where it's more of a fluffier rather than a wet snow. But I do think these amounts up here or down here are more appropriate because it is falling as a snowfall. And you can see there is a rain shield to this, especially where we do develop some of those thunderstorms. So that is basically that snowstorm. And obviously it does drop quite a bit of precip across the southwest, but you can see another system starts moving in, again contributing to that just barrage of precip. But we're let's just stop it at this time frame and show you how much snow may fall through tomorrow afternoon, around 24 hours from today. From right now, you can see up to 2 feet plus even 3 feet in some areas of the Sierra, right? We do have quite a bit of rainfall across the lower elevations into California, right? I should say California, into Sacramento, San Francisco, the California, the valley that lies just on the foothills of, just on the feet of the mountains, right? And notice that we could even see some impressive snow, which I actually am kind of very intrigued by this because this doesn't happen often for cities like Portland, maybe even the double digits, and some areas pretty close to it. Seattle picking up a few inches, and of course the mountains further north and east, lighter amounts, but still definitely up to 6 to 12 inches is a possibility. Total accumulated precip, just again including rain and snow. Let me go back to the total United States view. You can see quite a bit of rain for the coastal areas. And of course, let me just tell you, this piles on. I mean, as we push this forward through tomorrow and Monday, another storm does move in, so those amounts continue intensifying. Now, so yes, we took you through the time frame of this winter storm that I kind of wanted to make the basis of this video about. But let me show you the GFS. It goes out a bit further, so this is what it shows. You can see that this is a global model. It's not high-res. It's not kind of pinpoint accurate, but it's a bit further out, and it's a bit more sloppy, if you will, but it's a pretty good model. You're right. And notice there's that storm we're interested in. It does drop a lot of snow across the Midwest, and again, by Monday, it starts weakening, but it does still bring snow across Canada, northern Minnesota, so those amounts are still, they're still growing, and really there is very short in-between time frame between that system and that second one we saw moving in that will be bringing snow to Portland and Seattle. This beast, right, this one will be right after the storm for cities like Minneapolis, Twin Cities, St. Cloud, Green Bay, right, areas that saw snow from the first snowstorm. We'll be seeing snow from the second one. There are some differences though. It's further to the south, so the Twin Cities picking up bigger amounts of snow. And again, the models are still all over the place regarding this system. You can see that there could be a thud of snow for northern Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Some models like the European even show a few inches with this first area of snow. But again, that's that second snowstorm, right? And I guess that, that's a different one. I shouldn't be focusing on it in today's video, so don't get too preoccupied by this because this is a bit further out first we have this first snowstorm, but it's not far out overall. These systems are right after each other. You can see by Tuesday, we have that new storm. A lot more rain to it, has a more powerful warm side to it. And it does end up dropping quite a bit more snow in terms of its snowfall accumulations because of that bigger access to that warm air. And total snowfall by the end of these two systems, whatever scenario does occur, there will be a lot of overlapping between these first two systems in terms of the snow coverage. So there could be some pretty decent amounts across much of the upper Midwest, Wisconsin, Minnesota. You know, Minneapolis this year has had already a pretty good snowy year. I think they saw like up to 20 inches with that one storm that dropped a very intense band of snow across right through the city. And again, this is just two storms. The pattern, let me just zoom through the snowfall accumulations. You can see it continues adding on with various snow systems. So that's just one model. I showed you the HER model, a high res. Let me show you the Canadian, a very good model. I like it as well. And you can see just based off the snowfall amounts, it's already favoring the same scenario as the GFS. There are some differences though. Let me point this out. So again, that's that first storm. You can see it shows a lot more safe for Minneapolis, a lot more snow. This one would bring accumulating snow, and this is again really tomorrow in the evening. So there are differences even this far out, which isn't far at all, which is why this makes it a nightmare to show you all these models, all these scenarios, and then still potentially be wrong because they're all changing all over the place. Just be wary. This thing is a changing situation. But you can see it's not like a completely different storm, right? It is still in that same format. It's in that north to south, lacks a cold front. Just again, the exact locations where it falls heaviest are still a bit fuzzy. You can see this one brings more into the eastern United States, into more of Pennsylvania, up to New York, into Pittsburgh maybe even, or sorry, not Pittsburgh. I meant to say Toronto, maybe seeing a bit of snow. Pittsburgh, really just going to stay as rain from at least this first one. And you can see that, again, the Canadian, just from this first system, does show a lot of snow across the Midwest, and arguably, again, even more than what the Canadian or the GFS showed, especially for areas like the Twin Cities. The GFS showed less than 1 inch. This one shows 8 inches. I mean, that's a pretty darn uncomfortable difference to have almost 36 hours before the system occurs. And two, like the GFS, it shows that second system right after it. It's different. Notice it doesn't have that thud of snow for the Illinois, Indiana, Ohio area. It just has this more kind of negatively tilted storm, brings a lot more snow for, again, Minneapolis, Wisconsin. It's a bit stronger, but eventually does fall apart and kind of gets wind washed. I don't know, that's the best way to describe it. Just splatters apart. But again, adding on to the snowfall amounts, especially increasing it for the Twin Cities, you know, adding on several more inches, and yeah, you can see that snowfall footprint is impressive. But the Canadian too does keep it active with, you can see more snowstorms coming through in the future. And again, their track is very undetermined, especially since we have this first one still kind of a bit fuzzy. So let me show you the pivotal weather. I think I don't have it pulled up, so I'll have to pause the video just to pull that website up. But in the meanwhile, let me first show you some of the high res models. So these are ones that go out to 84 hours. We start looking at them when we have like these unconfident details. Say, you know, the Canadian and GFS arguing about the Twin Cities seeing snow or not with this first system to a pretty, again, uncomfortable degree with a spread of 7 inches. And let's see what the NAM 12KM shows. So again, just right off the bat, it does show snow from that first system. More of the Canadian, I guess, because it keeps it lighter, but definitely more than a GFS. So that's kind of, again, in between. So again, nothing really decisive from just this weather model. But you can see it wraps it up much cleaner. It doesn't bring much more precip into the east. So it agrees in terms of that factor more with the GFS. And just through that phase of that storm, you can see total snowfall is rather impressive. Again, with the colder temperatures, the snow may be falling at the Kuchera, you know, the accurate snowfall ratios may be a bit higher, so I would say probably over a foot in some areas is a pretty good guarantee. Again, where exactly, that's kind of the $1,000,000 question. And notice that right there, boom, the NAM, it does show that thud of snow. If you recall, the Canadian did not, so again, agreeing with more with the GFS on that. It does show snow into the Twin Cities, and it keeps it more of an orientation compared similar to the GFS rather than the Canadian that kind of had a warm side, distinct warm side on the east, and a distinct cold side on the north and west. This one, it's just more kind of an east to west warm side and cold side, not as much north to south or southeast to northwest. So yeah, and that one does drop more snow. Let's take a look at other models. We can't look at any of these because they don't go up far enough for the second system, but wait, I can show you the first system with them. Yes, so let's see. You can see this is a very high res, kind of like the Her model I showed you at the beginning. There's that system. You can see it shows decent snow for the Twin Cities. By the way, that rain probably won't be falling this rain. The model shows that it'll be cold enough for snow. And then, yeah, you can see the Twin Cities definitely would get a decent snow out of that. So it gets more supportive with the Canadian in terms of that. But you can see add some more additional amounts there. A decent bit of thunderstorm activity, maybe even. And it does keep it in a similar format, right? So at least that's good. You can see that's as far out as it goes. Total snowfall, more for the Twin Cities. But again, I would say it's a bit kind of an in-between. Not as robust as the Canadian for the southern areas, but it still shows a lot for the northern areas. So if you live across the Dakotas, you know, you haven't seen probably a lot of snow this year, especially last year. This will be a nice, decent snowfall event, a healthy one. RGEM, a model that goes out 84 hours. I coined it the high res of the Canadian because usually it mimics very well what the Canadian does. So this one's pretty much decisive of what it does. You can see it shows that scenario much further towards the south, snow breaking out across the Twin Cities tomorrow late in the evening. And again, this is tomorrow this thing's occurring, and we have so little confidence over it. It's truly just incredible how these models have been crazy. And look, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, right, Ohio, I should say southern Michigan, northern Ohio, picking up rain. That snow does you know, pack a punch, right, and then it finally does kind of spread apart and fall apart. And regarding that second one, let me just show you it since it's already pulled up here. It mimics more of what the Canadian showed, not the GFS, because again, this model is kind of a high-res Canadian, so that's not really surprising. But which again, this is a very plausible scenario. But also, you know, the GFS scenario is very plausible. And I do think that if you're watching this from a Twin Cities, and by the way, look at this model. It shows again a lot of snow for these areas. But again, the northern area, even if it's more southern track or southern snow spreader, it still seems to show both scenarios a lot of snow for the north. I would say right now I'm leaning with the GFS and the European. So if you live across the Twin Cities, that may be a bit disappointing. But the reason I'm doing that is because regarding this that first storm or that second one, if you recall, the GFS shows that thud of snow. The GFS wasn't even the first model to start showing that. That was actually the European. And in the GFS today, just really with the most recent model run, started to show what the European did. So the Canadian in that factor is an outlier. And it seems that just because of that, the Canadian is also probably having a weaker handle on the first system, even though it's much less disagreement. You know, it still has a big impact for, again, the cities like Twin Cities, St. Cloud, and whatnot. So I do think that right now there's a pretty good chance that it will be more of the GFS side. I don't think, you know, you'll end up with 8 inches across the Twin Cities in the next 48 hours from this system, but I do think you will pick up some snow, and this system definitely has tricks up its sleeves, as even if it's more, again, northern scenario, right? I think that there's a good chance that it could be something like the FV3 high-res shows. And more northern scenario, but still decent amounts, especially you could see 4, 5, 6 inches, just maybe not as much as, say, the Canadian shows, which really just targets the Twin Cities with the heaviest of the heaviest snow. So that's my take on it. And, you know, I do want to show you now the European model. I do apologize that this video is a bit long. I usually like to keep it under 20 minutes. However, as you saw, I mean, we are literally 24 hours away from this system occurring, right? And we have so much spread in models, even for areas like the Twin Cities or just regional areas like southern Minnesota. And I keep using the Twin Cities as an example because that's the most populated area, so it's the biggest chance that there's viewers from that city watching me right now. But again, I do want to say that this is an impactful system for just much more than the Twin Cities. It's a lot of cities across the northern Midwest, right? And again, with so much missing confidence, so many missing pieces, I'm kind of trying to show you all of this and show you, what is a possibility, what isn't, and which is why I am showing you all of these different scenarios and why the video is taking longer. So here's the European, a very reliable model. You could see, again, it shows that all models show snow for the Twin Cities, and it starts off with a very, very good, very good thud of snow for the Twin Cities. I mean, a very, very impressive one. Notice rain to the south. Cities like Chicago, it's going to be rain for you. There's no way it's going to turn into snow magically, unfortunately, even though that'd be nice. Notice the northern, say North Dakota, right? Cities like Winnipeg, Canada, a lot of snow. That snow will be falling not as heavily, but it'll be fluffier, lighter, and it adds more confidence in it actually occurring. But notice Twin Cities, right? They do see a few hours of very heavy snow. And again, the European just dangerously close straddles that rain-snow line. shows the heaviest to the north, but definitely still brings some snow to the Twin Cities. Shows a bit for northern Michigan. Detroit maybe picking up a bit of snow before transitioning to some warm air. And then just from this system alone, let's take a look at that total snowfall. And I'll show you the second system what the European shows with it as well. And you can see the European, it does show decent amounts for the Twin Cities, 3 to 5, but the heaviest is to the north. And I think this is a very, very reasonable amount, and I do think that is probably the most likely a scenario where I do not think that the European will, or I don't think that the system will really shift much further south than this. And even if it does, again, these areas up here kind of gonna be seeing heavy snow regardless. Because again, if you even if you take a look at the Canadian, which is considered a more southern scenario for the Twin Cities, these areas still pick up quite a bit of snow, just a bit less than maybe for Canada then. So let's take a look at the European model, but take a look at that second system, because again, we're not just dealing with one unconfident storm, it's two. Okay, right, there's one, and there's that second one across very similar areas. Again, of course, the west picks up a ton of precip from that, Colorado, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, rain and snow, and of course, very cold air. But look what this one does. Again, it's more of what the GFS showed. If you recall, the Canadian kept the snow up here, the rain here with that second system. The GFS showed that thud of snow, and the European does that as well. A few hours of snow, that's good, all what it takes to drop, 2 to 3 inches across Chicago, maybe southern Wisconsin, Iowa. It does all transition over to rain eventually. And again, maybe same thing for Detroit, a few hours of snowfall. Up here towards the north, lighter snowfall rates, but just consistently seeing snow, right? So probably higher, the highest of the amounts. And that system also just gets washed apart. It kind of peaks right there across the Midwest, and then it's gone, and it's a bye-bye. And we still do see activity, by the way. We see another system that some models develop into a monster. The European, not particularly. We'll have to keep an eye on this one, though. It's very good potential. Cold air, warm flow of precip, and continued moisture off the west will add to the activity. And just to show you the total accumulated precipitation from these two systems from across the United States at hour 162, you can see from that thud of snow up to 3 to 4 inches across maybe Chicago, Indiana, Detroit, Ohio. Again, very marginal rate. This could shift up or north, south, whatever. But you could see Twin Cities overall from these two systems, good amounts of snow. Green Bay, much of Wisconsin. So snow-starved areas, or especially northern Iowa, some of Wisconsin could finally pick up some snow. And then, of course, the west from these two systems. Look at the Sierras, 40, 50, 60. The San Juan right there, 25, 20, right? Good amounts of snow between these areas, and even northern Nevada picking up 8, 10, right? So good amounts of snow, good amounts of precip. I'm going fast because I'm running out of time here. But, yeah. And you can see that our winter storm watch is right north of the Twin Cities, but the National Weather Service really shows that there's a tight gradient, and we'll really have to see where this exactly occurs. But, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya. Bye.